Well, hello. I'm glad you could join us today for the third episode of Season 3 of the Salem Painter. Today we have a very special episode planned, and we're going to do a two-part episode, which we haven't done before. And in this episode, we're going to do, well, the next couple of episodes, we're going to do two paintings. And they're going to be the same scene, but one is going to be in the daytime, and one is going to be at nighttime. So, I think today, first, we're going to do the daytime scene. So I have my white canvas here. And right now, what I was doing when the show started, I was just putting on a thin coat of liquid white. Liquid white is a medium, and that means it's something your paint moves in on the canvas. So what this does is help your paint move around. It lets you mix on the canvas, and it just makes the canvas wet. I like the white because of the way it mixes with the colors, but you could also use something like maybe some walnut oil or something like that. Alright, so I think today we want to make something really bright. So I'm going to start out, I'm going to come down to the palette and get a little bit of yellow ochre. It's a really golden, bright yellow, almost orange. And I'm going to come back to the canvas and just put some right here in the middle. Just a big circle using kind of egg strokes, blend it in a little bit. Make a really bright color. And I'm going to get a little bit of, I guess, some cadmium yellow and go back around the edge. I'm not even washing the brush. I'm just putting these colors on. I'm just going to kind of blend them together anyway. Keep my brush loaded up with color. And these paintings we're doing today, they're for a friend of ours named Crystal. Her birthday is coming up, and this is what we're doing for her. And so she really likes the color yellow, so we're going to use a lot of yellow today. It's her favorite color. And I'm just blending this the same way, up and down, just egg-shaped strokes like this. Just blend it out to the edge. This liquid white lets the paint really travel around the canvas a lot. So, you know, if you didn't have this on here, you'd be scrubbing the paint in and it would barely go an inch. Alright, we have this color going up into the sky, and I plan to have some water in the painting today. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of that color down the bottom too. At the bottom, I'm still doing the kind of egg strokes to blend it down, but once I get some color down there, I'm just going to kind of come across from the side with it. Maybe I'll come back in a few minutes and put a little extra color down there. Alright, now I'm going to get a little bit of just a bright red. I think that looks really nice in skies with the sunsets, and because it's going to blend with the yellow and make kind of an orange color. So we'll just start up at the top. And we're just going to use the same egg-shaped strokes we've been doing and blend it down into this yellow. It's going to turn orange while we're doing this and blending it together. And this doesn't have to be perfect. You know, when you see a sunset, you see colors around all over the place. So, you know, just let it go where you want it to. If you accidentally get some red down in here, that's okay. Just blend it on in. You know, I think I want a little bit more of that red in there. Whenever you start putting more color in, just take it back up to the top and start blending down. Because if you start blending it in the middle, you're going to have a bright red streak, and it's going to get yellow across the top again. And you just blend it really well, so you can't tell one color starts and the other stops. Just kind of want to blend it all together. And I think maybe I'll take a little bit of that color and put it down here, just like we did, coming from the side, just like we did before, to show that the color is reflecting off the water down here. All of this won't be water, but whatever we don't want, we can cover it up. It's not a big deal. And here in the middle, as you can see, I'm coming from the edge. Here in the middle, you can leave a little bit of white space. And when we come back and blend this across, hopefully that'll look like a sheen of light across the water. Let the paint do the work for us. Why should we work hard, right? This is a very easy technique. But it can do magical things if you just don't fight with it. Just go with what happens. And I'm going to go ahead and start blending that across, and you'll see what I mean here. Just going to get that little bright area going right down through the middle. Even when we go across with it, you'll still see that. Alright, now we're going to keep blending this red down a little bit more. And mixing this yellow in with the yellow on the outside, the yellow ochre in the middle. And maybe today I want the sun to still be up, so I'm going to get a little paint. I've got some paint here on my finger, just white paint. I'm going to scrub it right here into the middle in a circle where I think the sun would be in my painting. So right in the middle of that yellow ochre spot we put. I'm just going to press it in there kind of hard. Get that paint down into the canvas. And I'll wipe my finger off. Then I'll just come back and take my palette knife and scrape off this white paint I put on there. It'll stay on the canvas because we pressed it in there so hard. It's not going anywhere. All right. Okay, do a little bit more. Maybe you all can tell I can't draw at all. Can't even make a good circle. I will get it how we want it eventually. There we go. Alright, now that we got that done, I'm just gonna gently come across, make that part of the painting. Make it look kind of hazy. Just down low on the horizon, there's a lot of mist and fog, stuff like that. But it still looks kind of bright. Let's see if we get it out that way some. Just a hint that the sun's there. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come back down to my palette, and I'm going to get some of my darkest colors, some of the blue, the black, maybe some crimson, just kind of mix them all together. And before I go on, I want to go back and get a little bit of blue to put up in the corner of the sky. So we're going to come back up to the canvas and just the slightest hint of blue at these corners. You know, so it looks like the sun's going down. Gonna kind of blend that in with that red. Very little blue. The blue is very strong. If you let it, it'll take over your whole canvas. But I really like to see purple in the sunsets. Purple and pink, it's beautiful. Alright, so we'll do the same as we did with the red when we put it in. Just blend it down with egg-shaped strokes. Doesn't have to be even. We just want to get it in there. Let's see. But you can use whatever colors you like. If you go outside and see a sunset, you know, usually we just look, oh, that's a beautiful sunset. But think about what colors you see when you look at it. Just like when we do trees, you know, we all know that trees are green, but when we're sitting there looking, you know, the light reflecting off the leaves, maybe it looks more yellow than it does green. The trick is painting what we see, not what we know it is. All right, a little more blending here. Just get all the streaks out. All right. And I'm going to step back for a second. We're going to take a look at the canvas and just look at what we got and see if we're happy with that. And I am. That does look like a sunset to me. So now we're going to go back down where we're mixing up the color that we're working on. Just going to wipe my palette knife off with a napkin and just get a little cut of that, you know, so you have a little thick pile of paint there on the edge of your palette knife. And we're going to come back up to the canvas and just decide where we want the mountain to be, because I'm putting a mountain here. I love painting mountains. We're mostly worried about the outside edge of this mountain. We'll deal with the rest of it when we get to it, but just want to think about how the mountain should go. And we're just going to scrub some paint in there using the palette knife. We're not worried about what it looks like right now on the inside. We just, like I said, we want that outside edge. Maybe I want another mountain, maybe around here. I don't want to cover up my sun that I work so hard on. That's the focus of this painting, so just think about where we want it to go. I hope that Crystal likes this painting. I'm sure she will. All right, just kind of pull the paint down, scrub it into the canvas, and we're going to scrape off the excess. We don't want a lot of paint here in the middle. And I think that's good on mountains. I was thinking about making another one, but I just want two in this painting. All right, we're going to take the brush, and since we're doing a dark color, we don't really have to wash it off just yet. We can just use these colors that are on the brush too and add them into the mountain. That'll be fine. So we're just going to take the paint and just pull it down the direction we think the mountain will go. Just have it kind of blend out. And as you pull down, it's going to get lighter. That's okay. We're just worried about the top of the mountain. And I did this mountain first because this mountain's going to be in the back. Right now it looks like it's up in the front, but I'm just going to take this paint and pull it down just like I did that paint, and we just moved the mountain to the back. You can move mountains that easy with your paintbrush. And you just pull this paint down the direction you think it will go. There we go. Already got the beginning of a nice mountain going on. So I'm going to wipe off my palette knife again. And go back down to the palette and just pull out some white. And you know, I think since this is a sunset, I'm going to take just a little bit of that red that we used, mix it in with the white. It's kind of, we're not going to mix it up too much. We're going to leave it kind of marbled. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that, cut across it. I'm going to come back up here and just lightly lay my palette knife down and let it take off some paint. Just put some snow on that mountain. You don't really want to use any pressure doing this. Just lightly drag it across. I mean, if you've got to use some pressure to get the paint coming off, then that's fine. Go ahead. Or maybe just kind of wiggle the knife a little bit like this as you go down there. Just kind of pull it off there, and it's going to leave little breaks here. You see, you'll have little places where the dark shows through, and you want that. Look like little rocks and things on your mountain. And we're going to do the same for this one. Just pull it off here. pull down the side, just like that. You want to keep quite a bit of paint, so every time you come down and do a couple little places, just pick up a little more of that color, come back with it. Maybe a little bit more here. And the reason I mix that red in to brighten it up, you can see how we got some little pink highlights and things. It looks like the sunset reflecting off the mountain. That's why I got that in there. All right, and we're gonna go back down to the palette again. And wait, I'm gonna put one more here. Okay, mix a little bit of white with the blue. Just gonna pick some of that up and take it off to the side so I don't get it all mixed in with my clean white. Might need some of that later. And that's gonna be a shadow color. So I'm gonna take a little cut of that off. It looks a little bit out of focus here because if I focus the camera on the middle, you know, so you can see what's going on here, everything on this side's out of focus. So it's just something we gotta deal with. I don't hold the palette in my hand because you know, it just gets tiring holding the thing up. All right, we're gonna go back to the canvas and just put a little line of paint. We're just gonna pull it in the opposite direction that we did this paint from the edge. You know, you can put your highlights on either side. I'm right-handed, so for me it's a little bit easier to do it on this side. But you can do it wherever you want to. And remember to kind of follow the, I guess the lay of the land is what you'll call it, the way the land moves. Just come that way with your highlights to give your mountain shape. Do the same thing over here. Just come down with it. We're picking up some of that dark paint there. But you know what? We're just going to go with it. We're going to leave it. We're not going to fight it. It's an important thing to remember. You don't want to fight it. You can come back and put some more paint in. And just all the way down. Everywhere you've got some red and you got a little space, you might come back and put some highlight. You know, you got your red and white highlight. Need your shadow. Every highlight needs a shadow. And we'll just put a little more down here. All right. And every now and then, just like before, I'm going to step back and take a look at what I've got. When you're very close to the painting, it can be very hard to see what you have. All right, now that we got that done, I'm going to clean off my brush. And I do that just by rubbing the brush into the paint can. I've got a screen in the bottom of it. Get off the excess paint. And then I beat the brush. I've showed this several times before, but it's always good to show it again. I've got a trash can with a broom handle going through it, and I beat the brush off on my little handle there. And you know, you can do this on the side of the easel like a lot of other people I've seen do it. I've seen Bob Ross do that. I think Bill Alexander did that. But it makes a huge mess. So I don't recommend it. You're going to redecorate your house with oil paint. Alright, now I'm just going to come along and tap along the bottom of these mountains. I'm just creating a mist. Then I'm just going to come up with my brush kind of in the direction the mountain goes. Just gently lift up. And then I'm just going to come across. I'm going to blend it. You kind of want it to look like your mountains are just floating in the clouds. I usually like to make the bottom of the mountains kind of the color of the sky above. But you can change the color down here if you feel like there would be a different color mist. Maybe put some white down here. It's all up to you, but I really liked using the color that was right up above it. And there we go. Got it blended. All right, and I think the next thing we're going to do, we're going to come back down the palette, and again, I think I'll use some of this mountain color because it's a good dark color. And I'm going to go back up to the canvas and just kind of put in some foothills. Just tap in some color. It's not really important what we got going on here yet. We're just going to put some down here. And then we're going to come back and just kind of lift up on it. And hopefully when you lift up, you want to lift straight up. It's going to make some little shapes in here that look like trees way off in the distance. You know, in some places you can raise it a little higher, a little lower. You know, wherever you think there might be a hill off in the distance, maybe pull up a little bit higher there, like that. You see you got tree shapes and yeah, well, you've got it. So just pull straight up. If you do this to the side, it's going to make it look like your trees are blowing over. You don't want that to happen. All right, I'm just going to blend this out a little bit down at the bottom. Maybe tap it, the color will come out underneath. And you can blend some more. And that's just making some mist down at the bottom so we can put in another layer of trees. So we're going to do the same thing right below that. And this hill it doesn't have to be like your other hill. In fact, it's going to look strange if these two hills are exactly the same. So maybe here it's higher here. You know, you just pull them up higher where you think they should be. And this is going to look like a separate row because of that mist we just created. Most of this is going to get covered up anyway, so it's not very important, but I'm going to put it in there. All right. Now that we're coming forward in the painting, we're going to put another row of really dark background color. That's what we're going to call it. We're going to put highlights and things on this, and that will really make this look good. All right, now we're just getting some color in there. Having to hold on to my easel because I'm actually tapping quite hard with this, and it's causing my easel to move around. So that's why I like this one. I got a little grip on it. We used to have a really hard time back in the first season before I got this easel. I'd be sitting here holding the back of it and everything else. Glad we don't have to do that anymore. All right, now I'm going to leave that how it is. And I'm going to continue with this dark color. I'm going to maybe actually get some black and green and mix a little bit of that. Just all the colors together, all different colors. Blue, a little bit of crimson even. We're going to get it really thick, and we're just going to wave our fan brush down through it to really just load up the bristles with paint. And we're going to come back up and think about where some trees might be in our painting. I'm going to put one right here. Just tap right there with the edge and just kind of come down with it, pressing harder as I come down. And you know, you want to keep a lot of paint on your brush while you're doing this. If you feel like you need some more, if you want to make it darker, well, go back and do it. Just make it darker. However you want these. Maybe another one beside it here. A bit taller. And again with this one, it picked up a lot of the white paint underneath, so I'm going to come back and darken it up. Some of those basic shapes in there. Blue, green, black, crimson, all mixed together. All right, maybe I'll make another big tree right here. I like these big trees. You know, the mountains in the back, they're beautiful, but if you didn't have something in front of them, your picture's not going to look real. You want this to look like something you went outside and saw. You know, living here in Oregon, I've seen a lot of things like this. That's probably the thing I like most about living here, is the scenery. Alright, and back down the palette, I'm just mixing together some of the same colors again, and bringing the brush through them, getting a sharp chiseled edge. Alright. And now today we got a special guest on the show. I got my girlfriend Kristen doing the camera switching for me, which is awesome. I've been having to do it myself and I always mess it up, but she's doing a great job. Alright, put another little tree in here, maybe further back in the background, or maybe it's just small, we don't know. We'll figure that out later. Maybe one right here, definitely way in the background. Yeah, put some bushes and things down here at the feet of them. And back to this side, another tree. And see what I was saying about those trees in the background, most of them are going to be covered up. All of them might be covered up, I don't know. But it's still good to have them there, just in case. Unless you know exactly what you're going to do when you come forward. You know, the next painting that we're going to do is going to be this same painting, this same scene, but it's going to be like a nighttime scene. So, and it's going to be in the winter, so we're going to have snow on the ground. So that should be really interesting. I haven't done one like that in a long time. And like I said, this is for our friend Crystal's birthday, and she really liked the Northern Lights paintings that we've done here on the show before, and I've done a couple of other places. So I think we're going to put some Northern Lights in that one. That'll be a lot of fun for me. That's one of my favorite kind of paintings to do. I can just imagine living at some place where they have Northern Lights a lot. You know, I want another tree right here at the edge. I like these little trees that go off the corner of the canvas too. There we go. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm sure people that live in places like Norway, where they have the Northern Lights, they probably get bored with them. I don't think I would ever get bored. I never get bored of the stars, especially shooting stars. I like watching meteor showers. All right. And again, and I've done this a lot this time, this is very important. I don't think I stressed this enough. I'm going to step back and take a look at what I've got. I'm very happy with how this is going so far. So next, I'm going to come in and take my big 2-inch brush that I use to do all the sky and the mountains. And if you'll notice, I've only washed this brush once, and that's when I was doing that little mist that comes up the mountain. I don't want to get all these colors into that. But I don't brush it very much. I'm just going to come down and start pulling down in straight lines. Kind of like we did when we were pulling up for the trees. Pulling down some reflections into our water that we've made. Doesn't look like water yet, but it will after we get these reflections on it. And wherever I think there would be a longer reflection, I can turn my brush to the side, or even just keep it how it is and pull down a longer one. You know, just because you see these trees here doesn't mean they're all going to reflect down the water. Some of these may be way back in the distance, and this is a good way to show how close the trees are. So here, maybe got one there, that extra long one there. Just pulling down straight lines, always straight lines. And you see, this is, once you see a reflection of a tree in the water, well, you know that it's actually pretty close. So you know, just experiment with it, find out what you like. And even if these aren't perfect, they're still going to look impressive. Nobody's going to notice. Mine are always bad. I always do terrible reflections, but people still like them. And that's what's important. What's most important is that you like the painting you're doing and what you've done with it. All right. Yeah, kind of looking watery. You know, this blue mixing in with the yellow, making this kind of green color on the water. When I first did that, I didn't like it. But after I stepped back real quick and took a look at it like I did just then, it kind of looked like the sky reflecting in the water. You know, most of what I paint on the show, it's all just an accident. I don't plan on most of this stuff. I'm usually happy that it happened after the fact, but honestly, about 50% of the time while I'm up here painting, I'm disappointed until I see the final result, and I'm like, hey, that turned out all right. You know, people always say that you're your own worst critic, and I think they've never been to our YouTube channel. All right, now that we got that done, well, sort of done. Actually, I want to blend it out a little bit more here. Usually we'd just go across this enough to make it kind of look watery. But in this particular painting, the sun's really low, so I want some pretty dark shadows on the water. Alright, I'm going to go back down to the palette. I'm going to take a little black, maybe a little raw sienna, maybe a little more black. Just want a tinge of brown. Alright, I'm just going to, well, first I need to wipe my palette knife off. And I'm going to cut a little row of paint, just kind of like we did with the mountains. And we're just going to kind of make a little bank. Well, you know, first, I'm changing my mind a lot today. I'm going to go back and put another little row of bushes going out here. Some stuff closer to the water. Just all those dark colors, just like with the trees. We're going to come back and put some highlights on this in a minute. It'll look really nice. Alright, and I'm just going to come back and put some land in, just wherever I think it would go. I'm going to do this all at an angle. We don't want it straight. A little bit more. Just keep a lot of paint on here. You want a dark undercolor so you have something you can come back and highlight. I can't wait to get started on the next painting. See how the scene looks at night. Alright, maybe this kind of curves in here in the middle, so we're gonna, or maybe this part's further away, so we're gonna come back out, let the land stick out a little bit further. All right, maybe a little bit more paint right there. Sometimes the edges of the canvas can be a little bit hard to paint because, as you know, underneath the canvas there's a wooden frame, and there it's a little bit harder to get paint to stick. All right, now I'm going to take some of that same color down the palette and just mix it in with some white. Cut off a row of white, maybe get some of that red I used earlier. We're just going to mix this together until it's kind of marbled. We don't want it fully mixed. You know, we're not going to pick it up off the canvas, the palette, and turn it over. We're just going to get a little cut of that. And we're going to come back on this land and lay in some highlights, just light reflecting off this. And we'll just let the canvas take what it wants, kind of like we did on the mountains. Just coming across it lightly. And you want the paint to kind of break up just however you think the land flows. If you think it goes off more to the side, if you want to do it that way. You can do this however you want. I'm sure it'll look good. Yeah, soon I want to do another episode like we did the last episode, like the pasture and the really soft looking trees. That one was a lot of fun. Maybe right here I felt that looked a little weird, so I'm going to pull it more to the side. There we go. Alright, now we're going to go down to the palette again. I'm going to wipe off my palette knife. I'm going to get some liquid white and just spread it out here. Just a little bit. Maybe get a little bit of the brown in there to darken it up. I don't want it as bright since the sun's going down. And we're going to use this liquid white to make a water line. We're just going to get a little cut of paint just like that, back up to the canvas, and we'll just decide where we want the water to start and the land to end, and we'll just put a little line going across it. And we're just going to keep doing this with straight lines all the way across. If you ever don't like one of them, you can just rub it with the edge of the palette knife until it disappears. And do it the other direction. You know, the other day at work, I was trying to tell somebody about this 80s, I guess, sort of a martial arts movie. It was this guy teaching capoeira to inner city high school kids. And I couldn't remember the name of it. I finally remembered. It was Only the Strong. And for some reason, I was thinking it was Jean-Claude Van Damme that played in it, but it wasn't. Some other guy. Alright, now I'm back down the palette, mixing up some dark color again, because I want to come forward in the painting and just make a little projection of land. Maybe I'm going to make it right here. And this is just some dark color. We could even put most of this on with a roller brush if we wanted to. We just want dark color in the background, mixing blue and black, whatever I can. Just, we don't want the color underneath to show through. All except on the edges where you're going to have little bush looking things and stuff like that. Alright. Now it's time to go back down to my palette, and I'm going to get some yellow. I'm going to come down here and start putting some highlights into this stuff we did in the background before we move forward and put anything over it. And you can use just different colors of yellow. I've got an old nasty torn up brush. You see the bristles are all everywhere. But it works perfect for doing little bushes and things like this. You'd be surprised. Just remember that each of these bushes are individual bushes. You don't want to cover up everything or do them all at once. Do them one at a time, and make sure you leave some of the dark area underneath. You're going to want that dark area. It's your friend. It's more important than the highlights almost. Maybe I'm going to get a little bit of the crimson and do a couple of the bushes that color. Maybe down here. Mix it with a little bit of the yellow. Another bush right here. Just wherever we want them. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. And then I'm going to take my other fan brush I've got going here. And I'm going to get a little bit of yellow mixed with the little bit of sap green, I guess. Make a bright yellowish green color. I'm just mixing it on the brush. It's not very important. And then I'm going to come back up and start putting some highlights on some of these trees, wherever I think the sun would hit. And, you know, since the sun's on this side, because we can see the sun, that's our source of light, so the side's facing the sun. We're going to put some more highlights on. Evergreen trees are quite dark, so we're not too worried about this. But yeah, I don't know what made me think of Only the Strong, but if I remember correctly, and it's been about 15 years since I've seen it, it was a pretty good movie. You should watch it. All right. Each of these trees gets highlights. And this one, the sun's right above it, so we'll put some on both sides. This one's just getting a little touch of color. It's way too far in the background to see much detail. This one, maybe more on this side, because the sun's on this side of it now. That's what makes these paintings interesting, is the highlights, the source of your light. So if you think about that, it's going to go a long way towards making your paintings look good. Just highlight on the side that you think would get the most light. Really, on this one, I probably should have highlighted this side of the mountain because the sun's there. But then again, it's kind of behind it, so maybe that part would be in the shadow more. And you're going to get reflected light from everywhere. Alright, I'm going to come back and get some of the yellows, greens, just all of it mixed together. I never even cleaned this brush, and that's fine. And I'm going to come along and just kind of put some little grassy things coming down onto the bank. So this land isn't just kind of sitting there. We want to kind of blend it in with our background, bushes and all this. Spend a lot of time on the show destroying things that we've already painted. But it's okay because we got to practice doing it. We got better at it. Or at least that's what we hope. Alright. Now I'm going to come to the foreground and just kind of start painting the bushes here. And it's more important than ever once you get to this foreground to remember that all of these are separate bushes. You can't just go dabbing a bunch of paint on. I'll leave these dark areas. They're very important. Can't stress that enough. All right. A bit more yellow. All right. Maybe one more down here. And I'm going to take a step back, take a look. Now, I feel like something is missing in this painting. I really like it, but you know what it is? There needs to be a big tree right here. Huge tree. So I'm just going to get a lot of dark color going down the palette here. Green, black, and let's see, right here. That's where I want my tree to live. You know, I've already put it in now, so that's where it's got to be. Once you start a tree, you got to finish them. And this tree is just gonna cover up everything. That's fine. I always say that just because the tree gets in the way of your view of the mountains, you can't tell them to move. So I'm going to paint them in. All right. We got him. That was a lot of tree. Took a while. And just like we did the other trees in the background, they come down and get a little yellow, a little bit of green. Put some highlights on this tree. And we'll do them mostly on this side because the sun's on this side. Of course, we're going to put some in the background. Lots of color. Maybe even a little brighter since he's closer. Get more yellows in it. All right. Whoa, that's too much paint. There, don't want that much. Okay. We'll come back and put some more highlights. Some little bushes hanging down. One of those kind of trees, you know, maybe like a cedar tree, just sort of hangs down. And on this other side, I'm going to put a few highlights. I don't want to leave it totally colorless over here, just not as much as we got there. I'll get my smaller brush, get some brighter yellow, mix with yellow ochre. Higher up, put some more highlights. Maybe here we want it to look almost golden. Sunset's usually the most beautiful time of day. Brightest. All right. And the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go in my box here. Forgot to get it out. I'm going to get my script liner brush. And I want to get a little, maybe black mixed with brown. Get some paint thinner in it. Just get it really thin. So when the paint is really thin like this, get it almost like ink or water, you know. When it's really thin, it'll flow. So you spin the brush in it, bring it to a chiseled point, and you can just kind of make little twigs and things like that. It's always nice to add these little details into your painting if you have time at the end. Well, at home you have as much time as you'd like. Here we're a little bit limited on the amount of time we can spend doing stuff like this. Maybe another little twig coming out here. A little dead tree. Maybe it fell over. And there we go. I think that's enough little trees, so we'll just finish this one up. And I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to come through in some of the shadow areas and just scratch in some little twigs and things, little branches in these bushes, wherever we think they would go. Maybe come back in the back, just using the corner of the knife, scratching straight through the paint to the canvas. So the white that you're seeing is just the canvas underneath. It's a super effective way to do this, especially with these little bushes in the background, especially if you think some of them might be taller in some places. Maybe you got a little place here where you got a little tree growing through. And just scratch it out just like that. You don't want to scratch your painting to death, but it's always nice to put a few little details. And maybe here in the foreground where you've scratched them in, you can come back and put some paint highlights back over them. so they don't just look like they're floating above the trees. All right, and one last time, I think I'm going to step back and take a look at this and see if we like it. And I really do like this. I think I'm gonna call that a finished painting. Now be sure to watch our next episode. Our next episode is going to be the same painting, but it's going to be at night. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to doing that one. I always like doing that, and we're going to do some Northern Lights in it. And we've had a really good response whenever we've done Northern Lights. So I think that people like learning how to paint that, or maybe they just enjoy watching. Whether you're here to learn or just enjoy it, I think you're going to end up learning something either way. I know I learn something new every time I paint. Well, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next episode. And you know, just if you ever have any questions, feel free to contact us at thesalem@gmail.com, or Facebook at facebook.com/thesalem. And as always, as soon as we finish episodes, I'd say within a week of finishing our episodes, we always upload them to the YouTube channel. Well, thanks for watching.